What's up guys, TSJAwesome 628 here, back again with another F1 2020 My Team Career Mode video, this time for the Belgian Grand Prix, and last time after the Hungarian Grand Prix we dominated the race, and we lapped everyone except for Lewis Hamilton and our teammate Daniel Ricciardo. I don't think it will be that easy this weekend at the Belgian Grand Prix. Obviously we do have the summer break to do it, so we do have to shut down the factory, so we only have like 4 days of activities before we have to shut down the factory. We're still going to try and upgrade the analysis suite to improve Ricciardo's experience stat, which in a way basically just makes us get more resource points because he'll analyse the data better apparently. And so it's basically a cheaper way of getting more resource points. And hopefully that means that we'll be able to develop the car even quicker. I'm not quite sure we're going to get a better opportunity to lap the field than at Hungary. Maybe it's Singapore, but we'll see. We're going to get into this Team HQ press interview by Will Buxton, and first of all we're going to just repurchase one of the upgrades that failed on the powertrain, and then we will get straight into this interview, which we always have during the summer break. Yeah, it is always good to see that dedication. Plus, I don't know why Will Buxton is so quiet, but or maybe it's for me. I can't only hear him quite quietly, but I will answer the question. I mean, we basically just chose the sponsors that would give us the most money. Like, it's just about our claim level. It seems that all the sponsors will want to be on our car, so we just chose the one with the most money. I think he probably does see himself getting a championship at the team, but I think we've outperformed him this season, and we're probably going to be the ones taking home the championship instead. I don't feel like there's more pressure. I think it's about the same. There's always pressure wherever you are in the field, because you always have a goal, and you always try and achieve that goal. No, there are no team orders here. We're free to race, as you have seen so far this season. So now we have 1 day before the season break, and then we'll come back after the season break for the Belgian Grand Prix, and we'll have some more activities in the timeline, and hopefully in the second half of the season we can continue our trend of being the quickest car and winning most of the races. So we're going to do some aero team building in this couple of days, and now we're going to get on to the Belgian Grand Prix. So we'll move into the laptop now and we'll check the weather forecast, and indeed it is going to be dry again, as it has been quite a bit this season, and hopefully for us we'll be able to have a good race again and challenge for the victory. We'll see whether we can beat Daniel Ricciardo. After practice we have some upgrades to put onto the car, and we have enough resource points to go for this minor rear downforce upgrade, and then also go for a durability upgrade. So I'm going to put that on the car as well. We're going to put it on. I took a while to debate which one we were going to go for, because obviously we've not touched durability for a while, and I wasn't exactly sure which one I wanted to go for. I was looking at all the different systems that I could, and obviously it's between the ICE and if that was the energy store, but we're going to go for the ICE, the internal combustion engine, and that should be on in time for the Russian Grand Prix, and hopefully it means that we won't have any failures. As you can see, going into Belgium, our control electronics is already on yellow, but we are going to replace all the components going into the second half of the season. And hopefully that will see us through to the end of the season. We may need to take some penalties later on, as we haven't focused on durability, but I would hope not. So, after replacing every single component that there is, we're going to get into qualifying, and we are going to set our first lap in Q1. And we didn't have the greatest run through the final chicane to set up our lap, but it should be okay. Due on slightly deep into turn 1, and obviously I haven't quite got used to this track yet, it seems, but we're going to head up through Eau Rouge and then through Radion and up the Camel Straits, and we're going to see what our first sector time is, and it's a 29.1, which is average. Again, running deep into the final bus stop chicane, and we set a 1:39.5 as our lap time, and that is enough to safely see us through to Q2. 1.1 seconds off Ricardo though, which I was surprised about for sure. I would have hoped we could have been a bit closer for him in Q1, but as long as we're close enough to him in Q3, that's where the main thing will occur. The people that got knocked out in Q1 were Kevin Magnussen 17th, George Russell in 18th, and Jack Aitken actually did a good job in the Williams in 19th, usually there on the back row. Latifi 20th, Romain Grosjean 21st, and Nick de Vries all round off the grid in 22nd. So it seems that Williams are a bit closer to Haas and Alfa Romeo this weekend than they have been in previous weekends, and still nowhere near the rest of the field, but they had been safely last for quite a bit of this season. And maybe this is a sign of upgrades to come for Williams, and maybe they will be challenging further towards the front in the near future. I think that's a bit optimistic, but we'll see. As we head on to Q2 now, we'll head through turn 1 as per usual, La Source, and then we'll head through Eau Rouge and Radion again, and we're going to see as we head up the Camel Straight whether we got a better first sector time than we did last time, and I think it's roughly the same, and we head through the bus stop chicane again. A slightly better run through here, but to be honest, whatever lap we set, as long as it's a valid lap, it should be enough to get us through. And indeed it is. This time only 4 tenths behind our teammate Ricardo. Still a bit of a gap to gain in the final session if we want to make it through. Bottas gets through in third on the medium tyres, so he's going to be going for an alternate strategy in the race, which should just be a one-stop though, so I'm not sure what else he was planning. Hamilton also gets through in fourth, actually slower than his teammate who was on mediums. Ocon also gets through to Q3 in fifth, Gasly in sixth, Perez 7th, Stroll 8th, and Albon and Verstappen join them in Q3. That means there's no space for either of the Ferraris with Vettel in 11th, and either of them Browns with Sainz in 12th, Kvyat and AlphaTauri in 13th, Giovinazzi and other racing points at 14th, and Leclerc and Norris round out the 16 drivers. Now going on to Q3, the important session, and our first lap that we set, and it is important that we set a good banker lap, as Ricardo has definitely been quicker than us this weekend, so we need to be really on it in this session, and hopefully we can take pole position maybe. It wouldn't probably be with this lap, and we'd probably have to improve on the second lap anyway, as we do set a 29 flat this time in sector 1, so slightly quicker than the previous sessions. and we're going to come across the line for a 138.8, which is at the moment enough to see us have provisional pole with Ricardo down in 4th. I'm not exactly sure what happened on his lap, but there's no way he should be behind both Mercedes cars, and considering how quick he was, I'm expecting him to improve on this final lap. So we're going to start this final lap in Q3, and as we head through the source, we're gaining a little bit of time, just under a tenth. Hopefully we can gain some more time, as Ricardo does indeed go quicker at 138.5, so we need to gain about 3 tenths if we want pole position in this session. And as we head down the Kemmel Straight, we're going to need to find about another 2 tenths in the final 2 sectors. And that's exactly what we're doing as we head through the bus stop chicane. We're about 4 tenths up, and that is enough for pole position as it stands. And we're going to cross the line, and we are going to claim pole position at the Belgian Grand Prix. So despite being slower than Ricardo in most of the other sessions, it's good to claim the pole position and start the race in first tomorrow.
Let's review our top 3 today. Thomas, Ricardo and Lewis Hamilton. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So, final top 10 in this session were us in first, and Ricardo missing out by just over a tenth in P2, Hamilton in third, Bottas in fourth, Pierre Gasly 5th, Lance Stroll 6th, Ocon 7th, Verstappen 8th, Albon 9th, and Perez 10th. So Pierre Gasly had quite a good qualifying start for his AlphaTauri. I think it's probably AlphaTauri's best qualifying of the season. Obviously Gasly coming off a great result at Hungary last time out, and trying to extend his good run of form in this race as well. The Renaults also were inside the top 10 with Esteban Ocon in 7th and looking quite quick. Renault, another team like AlphaTauri that have struggled for quite a bit this season, and we'll see whether they can improve in this race. Maybe the next race at Italy, which they were particularly strong at last season as well, where they got podiums at both the Belgian and Italian Grand Prix. So we'll see if they can challenge in the coming races. Yeah, it is good to qualify at the front. I'm delighted to be at the front because I wasn't expecting pole position after Ricardo dominated the first 2 sessions, but I gave it a go, and it was good to be able to claim it. Yes, our car did give us the edge over our rivals, as we do have a better car than the rest of the field, and that's good to see.
After yesterday's exciting qualifying session, Thomas lines up on pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo. A strong showing from the Australian. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Bottas, Lance Stroll and Ocon, Verstappen, Albon, Perez and Pierre Gasly. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Vettel, Giovinazzi, Charles Leclerc and Norris, Magnussen, Sainz, Jack Aitken and Nicholas Latifi, De Vries, Fiat, Russell and Romain Grosjean sits at the back of the grid.
So it is indeed a one-stop in this race. Soft to medium and soft to hard are pretty evenly matched here, but we're going to try for the more aggressive soft to medium stints. We'll try and get immediate pace from our second stint, and hopefully that will be the correct strategy and we'll be able to win this race. But we're going to have to obviously start off and try and hold the lead into turn 1, and we do get a better start than Ricardo, but after leading into turn 1 we're still obviously going to have the challenge of heading up the Kemmel Straight on the first lap with no slipstream, whereas all the other cars behind us will. It seems also that Hamilton has overtaken Ricardo into turn 1, so that should give us a good amount of time to be able to pull away if we can indeed keep the lead heading up the Kemmel Straight, so in which an overtake and managing to defend from Lewis Hamilton. And now we're going to move forward and try and pull out a gap to Hamilton and Ricardo, who we Ricciardo seems pretty quick as he's all over the back of Hamilton, indeed showing here, but we're going to try and get as much time as possible on them, as Ricciardo will pull to the outside of Hamilton on the Kemmel straight, and he will go round the outside, and he will gain the position as we head through the next couple of corners, and Ricciardo will move himself up into second, and he'll be trying to close us down in the next couple of laps. And we do set a fastest lap at the end of lap 2, and now we're on board with Pierre Gasly. Obviously great qualifying. He lost a couple of positions off the start though, and his engine has failed just dramatically on the straight, and Verstappen has hit him. Verstappen also has front wing damage in this race, as you see his end plate fly off. Pierre Gasly is having to retire through no fault of his own, so disappointing for the AlphaTauri man. And now on board with a massive train behind Verstappen, and first up it's his teammate who overtakes him. Verstappen obviously struggling with the front wing damage, and Albon moves up a position in this race. And now Charles Leclerc is also going to try and challenge into the bus stop chicane, and Charles Leclerc gains the position on Verstappen, and Verstappen pulls into the pits, and that's pretty much going to be the end of his race, as he'll be too far back to challenge, as he has to make a unscheduled pit stop in this race. We set another fastest lap at the end of lap 3, and now immediately on board with Charles Leclerc again, who wants both Red Bulls, and now he's going to try and overtake Alex Albon around the outside, and they're going to keep it side by side, but Albon's going to try and squeeze out Leclerc, and Leclerc's going to still send it around the outside though, and Leclerc looks like he's got the better drive here, and Leclerc will have a better line, and he's going to have the inside line into Pouillon, so he should be able to squeeze Albon out here, and he does squeeze him out, and Leclerc moves himself up position in this race. Now on board with Sergio Perez and Antonio Giovinazzi, and Perez goes round the outside of Giovinazzi and is now also trying to challenge Albon here, and Perez keeps it around the outside into the source, but Albon will try and hold on, and he successfully holds on for now, but this is probably just going to favour Perez, who'll get the DRS up the Kemmel straight, and he's probably just going to breeze past him here, as he does have so much more pace currently in that Renault car. And Albon looks like he's going to be helpless to defend, as Giovinazzi's also going to try and make it 3 wide on the straight, and Albon looks to have lost 2 positions, as Giovinazzi's also going to try and send it around the outside of Perez as well, and those two are going to continue side by side, but Perez comes out on top, and Albon has indeed lost 2 positions. And now Ricciardo's slowly closing us back in this race after our couple of early fastest laps, and maybe he'll be able to challenge us shortly. Now on board with Carlos Sainz and Kevin Magnussen, and Sainz is going to go around the outside of Kevin Magnussen and move himself up a position in this race, and he'll be hoping to challenge the rest of the midfield group, as his teammate Lando Norris is now trying to overtake Alex Albon, and I think we must have missed something with Albon having some kind of issue at the same time that Verstappen did, because as much as it wasn't obvious, Albon is just dropping through the field now, and Norris is trying to overtake him. Again, Albon defends into turn 1, but you'd almost say just let Norris through into turn 1 and try and get DRS and slipstream from him, which didn't happen. And now Norris is going to be able to breeze past Albon, I believe, on the straights, like Perez and Giovinazzi did the lap before. And now Norris will move himself up a position in this race. And up next will be the other Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel, and the other McLaren of Carlos Sainz, who are both going to be challenging Albon in the future. Ricciardo now does set a fast lap, showing that he is catching us, but we immediately storm with the fast lap, and he goes even quicker again. So he's now within DRS of us, as it is our scheduled pit lap at the end of lap 7. We do run slightly onto the grass there, and this could help give Ricciardo a good run on us going up the Kemmel Straight, and Ricciardo is going to pull to the inside, but we're going to try and defend it, and we successfully do so around the outside, and we're going to try and keep the position for the rest of the lap before we run to the pits, as our tyres are really starting to wear now. We've run deep, and that's going to give Ricciardo a good chance to try and get past us, and we ran wide again, but Ricciardo is going to challenge up the inside of Pouillon, and we have to leave him some space, and he's squeezed us out, and Ricciardo has taken the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. And as we head towards the end of the lap, we are going to try and dive into the pits as we head through the bus stop chicane. But Ricciardo has come into the pits himself, and he's taken our pit lap. We were scheduled to pit on this lap, and Ricciardo's decided he's pitting instead. So whether it's a miscommunication from the team or something, and they told us both to pit on the same lap, or Ricciardo just went against what the team asked, we've had to set our lap longer, and considering how worn our tyres were, as we come into the pits, they're on 69% tyre wear. We probably have lost quite a bit of time. So I imagine we'll be coming out behind Ricciardo and in the midst of some traffic, as I think Ricciardo is just behind Giovinazzi and Norris. So as we come out of the pits, indeed Ricciardo looks to be just ahead of us as we come out the pits. But no, we're going to be ahead of Ricciardo. And Ricciardo, in stealing our pit lap, has also been overcut by us, and he must have been stuck behind Norris for most of the lap then, and just the pace of our car just proved that we could still overcut him even with really worn tyres, as we breezed past Lando Norris on the Kemmel Straight. Now on board with the only Alpha Tauri left in the race, and Danny Kvyat, who's trying to overtake Kevin Magnussen, and he successfully does so around the outside. Well, he doesn't even need the outside line, he just does it on the Kemmel Straight completely, because he's already ahead going into the chicanes. Now we're going to try and challenge Giovinazzi through Blanchimont, and this is a really awkward place to try and go for a move. We try and keep it around the outside, a little bit of contact as we head into the bus stop chicane, and we do get the position, and Giovinazzi immediately pulls into the pits actually, so there was no need to try for the overtake, but we did make the overtake work. And now on board with Lewis Hamilton, who's trying to overtake Nicholas Latifi, and it's pretty easy as Latifi hasn't stopped in this race. He's going quite long on his soft tyres, but Hamilton is much quicker than him, as we do then set the fastest lap at the end of lap 10, and interestingly Ricciardo is on the hard tyres, so he's probably going to be slow in this current stage of the race, but will be quick towards the end of the race. Now on board with Antonio Giovinazzi, who's trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel as he goes down the inside into the chicane, and Vettel's going to try and keep it round the outside, and Vettel does fight back successfully, and it looks like he's going to get the better drive as they head into No Name Corner, and Vettel does hold the position. We almost set another fastest lap as we set 2 purple sectors, but we don't quite, as our first sector was pretty slow. But Giovinazzi this time round does overtake Vettel, and now Vettel is going to have to try and defend from Danny Kvyat instead. This time around we do set another fastest lap, and now we're back on board with Vettel, who seems to be falling backwards in this race, as Kvyat now breezes past him on the Kemmel Straight, and Kvyat moves up the order in this race. We're now about 3.5 seconds ahead of Ricciardo, and we're just trying to extend the gap because he will be able to be quicker than us at the end part of the race, as we did set another fastest lap there, and the gap's around 4 seconds, and it's probably around this time where Ricciardo will start to become quicker than us. Is now on board with Carlos Sainz here, who is also trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel, and Carlos Sainz has quite a big wobble on that straight there, and he just about keeps it, but he's going to send it around the outside of Vettel, but Vettel looks to defend down the inside, and Vettel shrugs off Sainz and keeps the position. So it's quite a bit of defensive work for Sebastian here, as now into Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane, Sainz is going to try and go around the outside of Vettel, and he'll have the inside line as they start on the start-finish straight, but Vettel looks to have held Sainz off, but it's only going to give Sainz a good run through Eau Rouge Radion and then the Kemmel Straight, and with DRS and slipstream, it looks like Sainz will be able to make this move as they head up the hill, and Sainz is going to, well, as soon as they get DRS, he's going to pull alongside, and before they even head into the next corner, Sainz is ahead and has overtaken Sebastian Vettel. Now, at the start of lap 19, the gap to Ricciardo is now down to 3.2 seconds as he sets another fastest lap in this race, and he's gained about 6/10 on that last lap, and at this current pace he will catch us on the final lap, but I do expect him to be even quicker than us in the next few laps, and it's going to be a tough defensive drive. From now on, he was quicker than us in the first stint, and now he looks like he's going to be quicker than us in this final stint. As there is a yellow flag further back down the field. Maybe if it brings out a virtual safety car or safety car, it will help us in this race. It's Kevin Magnussen who's retiring from the race, but nothing being brought out, so we're on our own trying to fight off Ricciardo, who sets another fastest lap in this Grand Prix as we start lap 21. He's just outside of DRS range with another fastest lap in this race, and he's really coming into his own, but we don't get the greatest exit out of turn 1, and now he's just inside DRS range, and at the detection point he will get DRS on the Kemmel Straight. I don't think it'll be close enough to make a move now as we head through on this particular lap, but it means that it'll be much closer as we head on to the final lap. And now we're going to go back on board with Alex Albon here, who is trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel, and both of these drivers have lost a lot of positions in this race, but Alex Albon looks to regain one of his as he goes around the outside of Sebastian Vettel, and Vettel looks to have defended, but Alex Albon sends it back round the outside and seems to get a much better drive around the outside, and will defend up the inside of No Name corner, and he will have the inside line into Pouillon, and he manages to squeeze Sebastian Vettel out and gain the position in this race. Now back on board with us, and Ricciardo is all over the back of us, and he's probably going to try and make a move into Blanchimont here as he's only a 10th behind us, and we're just going to have to try and park the car as much as possible. We do hold him off into Blanchimont, but it was clear at this point to me that we were not going to be able to hold him off for long. So as we head through the bus stop chicane, on the exits, we're going to try one last trick to see if we can keep this position. Ricciardo sets the fastest lap and breezes past us into turn 1, but that does mean that we will get DRS on this Kemmel Straight and on this final lap. So we are probably in the perfect position here, as we should get a better run than him, and we're only 4/10 behind him, so as we put it up to Rich Mick's overtake and get the DRS, we're going to get the run on him, and we're going to pull to the outside of Ricciardo, and we're going to regain the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix, as we momentarily gave it away into turn 1, and we successfully regain the lead, and hopefully we'll be able to hold it on for the rest of the lap. Now on board with Carlos Sainz, who is trying to overtake Danny Kvyat, and he's going to go past him on the Kemmel Straight, and is going to gain the position in this race, and move himself further up the order, just outside the points I think they are. But now Ricciardo will probably have one last chance into the bus stop chicane, but there is no DRS on the run down through Blanchimont, so I think we'll be able to defend with our Rich Mix and overtake, and despite the fact he's only 1 to 2 tenths behind us, we do pick up a warning for just about exceeding the track limits. But we're going to head through the bus stop chicane, and through some nice tactics on the final lap, we are going to win the Belgian Grand Prix. So a good victory for us here, and a hard fought one, especially as Danny Kvyat wins driver of the day, despite the fact he was quite far down the order.
Right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
So we celebrate on the podium with Ricciardo. It's quite a close race in the end. One of probably the closest race to the finish that we've had in this series so far. As there were overtakes for this position back and forth on the final lap.
This round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Thomas increases their championship lead. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Daniel Ricciardo certainly impressed me today. An incredible performance.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
So Anthony Davidson really likes giving Daniel Ricciardo drive for the day, it seems, and Anthony Davidson gives it to him for the Belgian Grand Prix. But we won the race, which is definitely the more important thing. He did pick up fastest lap though, as he finished 3/10 behind us, and Bottas recovered to third. Well, I say recovered, he beat his teammate. He started obviously on the medium tyres and was struggling in the first stint, but he was ended up quite comfortably ahead of Hamilton with his second stint. Ocon picked up a great fifth for Renault, and Perez was seventh, marking out a very good day for them, with Lance Stroll just in between them in sixth. Leclerc then picks up eighth from his Ferrari, Lando Norris ninth, and Giovinazzi rounds out the points in the other racing point. Carlos Sainz just missed out on points. Obviously, he had a good battle with Danny Kvyat, Alex Albon, and Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel dropped down quite a few positions towards the end of that race. Nicholas Latifi was then 15th. Verstappen recovered to 16th after his damage in the early laps. Russell was 17th, Grosjean 18th, Jack Aitken 19th, Nick De Vries 20th, and Kevin Magnussen and Pierre Gasly failed to finish the race. So, disappointment in the end for Pierre Gasly, who obviously qualified so well yesterday and then had to take a grid penalty and then DNF'd. So it makes you wonder why he took a grid penalty if his components were going to be worn. 102 points is now the gap between me and Daniel Ricciardo, who is then a further 49 points ahead of Bottas. Hamilton's then on 150 points, and Lance Stroll re-overtakes Max Verstappen in the championship for fifth. Leclerc is then on 69 points, with Lando Norris on 59 points just behind him, and Ocon leads the large train of cars behind now with his good result this weekend. He's on 39 points, Vettel on 36, Gasly on 34, Giovinazzi also on 34, Albon on 24, Perez on 21, Kvyat on 20, and Sainz on 16, with Grosjean on 2, Russell on 1, and the Alfa Romeo and Williams cars still yet to score this season. In the Constructors, we are 220 points ahead of Mercedes, and then Racing Point to third on 143. Red Bull are then 127, they lost quite a bit of ground to Racing Point this weekend, but maybe they'll be able to recover it in the coming races. I don't think Italy's going to be a very strong track for them though. Ferrari are then fifth on 105 points and look to have a decent car, but still not that good on the straight, so they may struggle in this battle. McLaren then on 75 points, and Renault overtake AlphaTauri and on 60 points, with AlphaTauri obviously having a bad weekend and only on 54 points. Haas then on 3 points, and Alfa Romeo and Williams still yet to score this season. And it stopped coming close for them, as Magnussen did have a few chances early in the season, but they haven't really come that often. Yes, we are a winning combination. Probably due to the fact that our car is so much better than everyone else's at this point in the season. But it's always good to see the team getting 1-2s and podiums. So hopefully it continues. I don't really remember hitting the walls, but it's pretty hard to hit the walls at Belgium. And I'm not sure when you're saying it wasn't really the cleanest race today. I think I made contact with Giovinazzi once, and other than that, it was fine. And I think she's probably just picking up on that because she doesn't really have anything else to say. But In the rivalry, we are very close to beating Sebastian Vettel. We lead 27 to 11. And in acclaim levels, we are level 14. Ricciardo is level 15, and as a team we're still level 18, so still no change there. It's become very hard to gain more acclaim recently. I'm not really sure why, as we are dominating the sport. We did pick up quite a bit of damage deductions. I'm not exactly sure why, so it does seem that we must have hit the wall somewhere. Maybe we were running with front wing damage at some point in that race, and I wasn't sure. It didn't feel like it, but maybe I was. But after meeting all the sponsor goal objectives, we are now up to 6.45 million in cash levels, and we're going to try and save up to about 10 million before we purchase our next upgrade for facilities, because that will allow us to get either the aerodynamics or powertrain to spec 3 and unlock some more upgrades in that department. I also think we're not that far away from securing the Constructors' Championship, and maybe we'll be able to do it in either Singapore or Russia if we continue at our current form. But that will be the end of the episode, and I'll see you guys next time for the Italian Grand Prix.